Our story starts under a beautiful sky. We see a monk saying to someone, "Does he want to know about Wi Yeonho?" We are introduced to the living Buddha Master Mu-san. We see a skinny scholar saying he wants to know about Wi Yeonho and he is compiling materials to document his history. With a forced relaxed face, the monk says Wi Yeonho, known as the radiant martial sovereign, was a very benevolent and upright man. The Buddha must have sent him down to them. With excitement, the scholar starts recording everything and says it's just as he thought. He asks the monk what was Wi Yeonho like in his everyday life. We see the monk is clearly uncomfortable. Then the monk couldn't keep his composure and, cursing Wi Yeonho, he says he can't do it. Hearing a monk curse, the scholar falls from the sky. Then the scene shifts to the Hubei Peng clan. We see the scholar getting kicked out of the Peng clan. We get introduced to the very angry supreme elder of the Hubei's Peng clan, Peng Dojuk. He is very angry hearing about Wi Yeonho. He asks the scholar why the hell did a wretched, trashy human like him come asking about Wi Yeonho. The elder asks someone to bring a whole bag of salt and scatter it around here where the scholar is. The scholar gets very surprised and scared seeing everyone react the same way after hearing about Wi Yeonho. We get an explanation about Wi Yeonho, the radiant martial sovereign. He was a legendary figure who ended the era of chaos, a true gentleman, a great man, and a renowned chivalrous warrior often spoken of across the world. Some call him the greatest of all time, others the greatest chivalrous warrior. We see the scholar going somewhere with a qigong technique. He thinks, why does everyone avoid talking about Wi Yeonho? As a historian, the scholar has a duty to document even the hidden sides of history, and today he may finally learn the reason. We get introduced to the beggar sect's divine mad dog. The mad dog bursts out laughing hearing the scholar was chased away from Shaolin and Hubei's Peng clan. The scholar confirms it and says everyone's responses were pretty much the same wherever he went. The moment he brought up Wi Yeonho's name, before the scholar could finish, the mad dog cuts him off saying of course they would react like that. Hearing that, the scholar gets surprised. Hi everyone. Welcome to today's amazing story. Hope you have a good time. The main story starts about 100 years ago at the Guangdong's Wi clan. Wi Yeonho was the absolute worst kind of person. We are introduced to the young Wi Yeonho of 12 years old, where we see him half asleep and saying he wants to become the strongest. From Mad Dog's perspective, there was once a boy who dreamed of becoming the greatest under the heavens. Born into a martial clan, he was raised learning the chivalry of warriors, and because of that, he already knew the quickest way to the top, and that path was relentless effort. For a boy with such a will, there was one small issue. It's that it was too late to begin today. We see Wi Yeonho getting up and looking at the sunset. We see him intensely thinking. But then he lies down with his blanket, saying what a shame, today was supposed to be the day he laid the foundations to become the best. He decides he will sleep soundly tonight and train tomorrow. We hear someone's footsteps and see someone appearing in Wi Yeonho's room, telling Yeonho to get up. He again tells Yeonho to get up, but this time while shouting. Yeonho reluctantly gets up. We are introduced to the patriarch of Guangdong's Wi clan, the righteous chivalrous swordsman Wi Zhonghan and Wi Yeonho's father, asking Yeonho does he know what time it is. Yeonho replies saying he saw the sun. Yeonho's father says despite seeing the sun, he is still lying on his bed. Yeonho cheekily says it's because the sun is still going down. Yeonho's father asks does he know how long he has been holed up in his room. Yeonho says was it 2 days, or maybe 3, and then he comes to the conclusion that it was 2 days. Calling Yeonho a useless brat, his father says it's been 4 days. He has been rolling around wrapped in a blanket for 4 damn days. Yeonho's father asks him doesn't his back hurt from lying around for that long. Even a bear would flip over from sweat after 3 days. With a nervous laugh, Yeonho says that's why he gets up every now and again. Hearing that, Yeonho's father gets angry and grits his teeth. Yeonho says actually he tried to train today, but every time he opened his eyes the sun was already setting, and when the sun sets one has to sleep. That way, one can get up early the next day for training. While screaming and calling Yeonho a freaking brat, his father flips over his bed and says he is finally going to fix Yeonho's rotten attitude today. From the mad dog's perspective, with a little pun, he says today in the great Guangdong's Wi household, the sun was already going down. The scene shifts to Guangdong's Wi clan office, where we see the patriarch clearly distressed. We are introduced to the administrator of Guangdong's Wi clan, Zhou Bang, asking the patriarch is his stress about the second young master again. The patriarch says who else would he be worried about? The administrator tells the patriarch not to worry and that Yeonho will mature soon enough. The patriarch says it's all his fault. We get an explanation about Wi Yeonho, the patriarch of the great Guangdong's Wi clan. He left on a martial dual pilgrimage the year Wi Yeonho turned 2. We are introduced to the matriarch of Guangdong's Wi clan, Han Sang-ah, the unborn child Wi Surian, the eldest child Wi Sanho, and the second son Wi Yeonho. At that time, Wi Zhonghan thought the journey would only last 2 years at most. However, he got caught up in various incidents, and it wasn't until 8 years later that Wi Zhonghan was able to return. Though he earned the honorary title of righteous chivalrous swordsman during that time, what he lost was far too great. When he returned home, his once gentle wife had become fiercer than a tiger, and his beloved son, whom he thought wouldn't be a problem at all, had grown into a lazy sloth. We see Wi Zhonghan sigh deeply. The administrator tells the patriarch not to worry and there must still be a way. The patriarch asks what way. The administrator says has the patriarch forgotten that he will be returning soon. The patriarch asks who's he, but then the patriarch realizes who he is. The administrator says after 3 years, he will return from the academy. The patriarch gives out a sly smirk, thinking there is one person Wi Yeonho is actually scared of. We see someone arriving behind Wi Yeonho. Yeonho thinks why is he suddenly getting chills. When Yeonho looks behind, he sees his older brother. We are introduced to the eldest son of Guangdong's Wi clan, Wi Sanho. Wi Sanho asks Yeonho how long he has been asleep. Apparently nervous, Yeonho asks when did Sanho get home. Sanho says he asked Yeonho first. While scratching the back of his head, Yeonho gets nervous and doesn't say anything. Sanho gives out an intense gaze at Yeonho. Yeonho gets scared and says it's not what Sanho thinks, and that Yeonho trained early this morning and he trained really hard and he just took a nap because he got tired, and true. Sanho asks Yeonho did he really train. Yeonho replies positively. Sanho asks Yeonho to use a technique to split that candle into 2. Sanho wants to see how much Yeonho has improved over these 3 years. Holding a sword, Yeonho reluctantly gets into position. Sanho asks Yeonho what is he doing and asks him to go ahead. Yeonho starts making excuses, saying they are indoors and it could be dangerous. Sanho shouts, saying he will take responsibility and asks Yeonho to show Sanho what he has got. Yeonho starts to prepare. We see Yeonho going forward, swinging his sword. He tries to show off a great sword technique, the soaring dragon technique, but nothing happens to the candle. Seeing that, Yeonho thinks he screwed up. With disappointment, Sanho says 3 years has passed. 3 is enough to master a sword technique and move on to the next level, but Yeonho has gotten worse than he was 3 years ago. The scene shifts to the Wi family's dinner hall, where we see them having dinner. Yeonho thinks he is going to get indigestion, and he is sure of it. The patriarch asks Sanho how was the martial academy life, and has he encountered any difficulties. Sanho says it was fine and if there were no hardships, it wouldn't be training. He believes they are essential to overcome himself. The patriarch tells Sanho that he has suffered a lot in his absence. Sanho says his father was the one who had it harder being away for so long. The patriarch asks Sanho is there any other issues. Sanho says there is one. The matriarch asks what it is. Sanho says it's about Yeonho, and everyone gets surprised. Sanho thinks they need to bring Yeonho to his martial academy. Hearing that, Yeonho gets surprised, scared, terrified all at the same time. The scene shifts to the mad dog saying even Master Mu-san and Peng Dojuk grind their teeth at the mere mention of Wi Yeonho's name, and that was when the great history began. Back then, no one could have imagined that this lazy boy would one day shake the world. Just like that, Wi Yeonho was half forced to go to the martial academy. His family was a bit upset. We are introduced to Wi Yeonho's younger sister, Wi Surian, crying and asking Yeonho not to go. While laughing, his father tells him to come back as a man. Yeonho tells his sister not to cry and that he will be back. From the mad dog's perspective, the journey of Wi Sanho and Wi Yeonho was smooth, well, for Wi Yeonho, that is. Yeonho asks his brother are they almost there. Sanho says there's 10 more days left. Hearing 10 days remaining, Yeonho gets surprised. Sanho says they would have gotten there in 5 days if Yeonho knew how to ride a horse. From back there, Yeonho tells Sanho that he has never ridden a horse before. Sanho says he wasn't blaming Yeonho and was just answering Yeonho's question. Yeonho asks Sanho to rest and asks does he know how steep this hill is. Yeonho is very tired, and he feels like his back and butt are gonna burst. Seeing some people lying under a dead tree, Yeonho tells Sanho to go there and shows those people are resting too. Seeing that, Sanho gets really surprised. Sanho gets down from his horse. Yeonho asks him what is he going to do. Sanho appears in front of the lying bodies. While checking them, Yeonho asks Sanho what is he doing. Sanho tells Yeonho that they are too late and that the people lying there are all dead. Hearing that, Yeonho gets really surprised. Sanho shows Yeonho something, saying this is a technique called the flower indulging palm. It used to be called crimson flower palm, but because of a rapist named Seo Juak who went around committing evil acts using this technique, it came to be called the flower indulging palm. Hearing of a rapist, Yeonho asks Sanho is he saying that the rapist is around here. Sanho says the rapist goes for women who are climbing the mountains, and these bodies mean that Seo Juak ambushed them while trying to get a woman. In other words, there is a woman in danger somewhere around here. Telling Yeonho to stay here, Sanho leaves saying he will be back. Yeonho screams at Sanho saying is he telling Yeonho to stay here with these corpses? By that time, Sanho goes very far. Yeonho gets frustrated. He looks around. He looks at the horses and the bodies and says he's screwed. The sky turns black as if it will rain any time. Yeonho screams, calling Sanho a liar and asks what's taking him so long. Sanho should have just brought Yeonho along. Yeonho thinks did something happen to Sanho? There's no way he would be this late otherwise. Yeonho thinks he needs to do something. He might become a tiger's dinner if he just loiters around here. Suddenly, thunderstorm strikes, and Yeonho gets scared. Rain starts to fall. We see Yeonho, the horses, and the bodies in the rain, and Yeonho thinking he is really screwed. Thinking how did he end up like this, Yeonho struggles to put the bodies onto the horses' back. He gets frustrated, thinking he can't just leave the bodies behind since they might become tiger food, and he can't bury them because it's raining, and he needs to find shelter. Suddenly, the horses don't listen to Yeonho. Suddenly, thunder strikes, and one of the horses kicks Yeonho, and he falls down the hill. Yeonho wakes up in pain. He hurt his back while falling and curses the horses. He gets up and finds himself in a cave. He gets happy, thinking he found shelter from the rain. Then the horses also come back to the cave. Yeonho ties down the horses and thinks he can't even hit them. Seeing his dirty clothes, Yeonho thinks what a mess, and that is why he prefers to stay home. Yeonho leaves a mark outside the cave so that his brother can find him. Not knowing what to do, Yeonho lies down to sleep. After some time, Yeonho wakes up and hopes that nothing happened to his brother. Then he thinks his brother is strong, and so he will be fine. Then Yeonho falls asleep. He starts sleeping soundly. Some time passes. Suddenly, we see a blue light around Yeonho. Slowly, the blue light wraps around Yeonho and lifts him in the air. The light starts taking the sleeping Yeonho somewhere. We see the light taking Yeonho inside an invisible barrier. After some time, Yeonho wakes up. He looks around and thinks, where is he? He sees the place looks like the cave he was in. Seeing the different structure, Yeonho thinks, did he go deeper, did he roll in deeper somehow while sleeping? Suddenly, a voice can be heard saying, "Fated human." Hearing the voice, Yeonho gets scared and screams. Then he falls towards the wall, and when he looks up, he sees a blue light spear. The voice says, "Welcome to the fated place, successor of my radiant sword." Yeonho asks, is the voice speaking through the sparkling thing? The voice says yes, and that he has transcended the restraints of a physical being and he is speaking to Yeonho from beyond time and space. The voice tells Yeonho to accept his will and rule over the world. Hearing that, Yeonho screams, saying it's a ghost. The voice tells Yeonho to not be afraid and that the voice is already dead, only his will has been left here. He has prepared this for someone who will get here after him to accept his will without doubt. Yeonho thinks this situation seems familiar. A cave without human presence, an old man's will. With a disgusting smile, Yeonho thinks, is this a fateful chance? He thinks the heavens are rewarding him for his kindness. He wouldn't have to go to the martial training hall if he becomes strong right here. The old man's voice says there is no time and to inherit his sword and right the morals of the world. He will teach Yeonho his radiant sword and asks Yeonho to train endlessly. The voice tells Yeonho he should be talented enough if he has the old man's blood, and if Yeonho trains hard here for 30 years, he should be able to replicate the old man's technique somewhat. Hearing of 30 years, Yeonho gets surprised and says he doesn't think this fate was for him and to look for the next person. The old man gets speechless for a moment and, in surprise, asks Yeonho why. Yeonho says he would rather let this go than stay here for 30 years. Back to Mad Dog's perspective. He says that fateful meeting is how the loser Wi Yeonho came to be so strong. Yeonho tells the old man that he doesn't think this is fate and to find someone else. Then Yeonho runs off. The old man asks Yeonho to wait. When Yeonho looks back, he sees the light turn into an old man. We are introduced to Baek Muhan. Seeing the old man, Yeonho says he was right, the old man is a scammer. The old man says, how dare Yeonho call him a scammer? Yeonho says that the old man pretended to be one thing, and when that didn't work, he revealed his true self. The old man says he wasn't pretending, he is actually a spirit who has left his body. Yeonho doesn't believe the old man and punches him. His hand goes through the old man, and he falls down. The old man asks Yeonho what is he doing. Seeing Yeonho's hand pass through the old man, Yeonho screams, saying the old man is a real ghost. The old man says this is the spirit transmission arts, something only martial artists at a very high level can use. But Yeonho says they call them ghosts. The old man gets angry and screams at Yeonho, saying he is not a ghost. Back to Mad Dog. Saying the story, he tells the scholar that's how Wi Yeonho met his master. The scholar asks Mad Dog, does something like the spirit transmission arts really exist? Mad Dog says it's a technique that only martial artists of the highest level can attain. The young scholar asks, then who's one martial artist who can use spirit transmission arts? Mad Dog asks the young scholar, does he know the Sword Emperor? The young scholar says that's a given. The Sword Emperor is the strongest person in history, after all, the greatest person of the Thousand Swords Baek clan and the master who will be remembered in martial arts history. Mad Dog says yes, he is talking about Baek Muhan, the Radiant Sword, and the man who was later called Sword Emperor is the Radiant Martial Sovereign's master. The young scholar gets surprised and asks, didn't the Sword Emperor live 300 years ago? Mad Dog says that's right. The Sword Emperor is from an already forgotten generation. Regardless, it's true that the Sword Emperor made Wi Yeonho. Hearing that, the scholar says how incredible, and asks Mad Dog, the Radiant Martial Sovereign who knew that must have requested to become the Sword Emperor's disciple immediately, right? Mad Dog says it was the opposite. The Sword Emperor, who figured none of his descendants looked for him for 300 years, needed a disciple at all costs. Wi Yeonho casually asks the old man why is he throwing a tantrum, and Yeonho really can't learn from him and that he is leaving. The old man tells Yeonho, did he really think the old man would let him go so easily? The old man closes the cave's entrance. Seeing that, Yeonho gets irritated. The old man starts laughing and asks Yeonho what does he think. The cave door is a super thick stone gate, and with Yeonho's current abilities, he will never lift or break it. But if he learns the old man's martial arts, he will be able to cut it like a piece of paper and leave. Saying there's no helping it, Yeonho pulls out a sword. Seeing the sword, the old man says he told Yeonho that he can't cut that stone gate with his abilities. Despite that, Yeonho starts scratching the stone wall. Seeing that, the old man gets speechless. The old man asks Yeonho what is he doing. Yeonho says can't the old man see he is digging a hole? No matter how strong the stone is, it's still stone, which means it will slowly break down if Yeonho grinds it with metal. Yeonho will break through in about a year or two. The old man asks Yeonho will he do that for a year or two? While laughing, Yeonho says that's funny when it's coming from someone who spoke of training Yeonho for 30 years. In anger, the old man thinks this bastard is a madman, and the old man can't even beat him to death. The old man hovers around Yeonho and tells him to just try learning, and he won't disappoint Yeonho. Yeonho says he doesn't like the old man. Then the old man says he will allow Yeonho to leave after 20 years. Hearing of 20 years, Yeonho lies down and says 20 years is too long, and Yeonho would consider if the old man said 3 years. In his mind, the old man gets angry and calls Yeonho a bastard. But with a smiling face, the old man questions Yeonho, he wants to learn the Sword Emperor's martial arts in 3 years. Even if Zhang Sanfeng came back to life, he wouldn't be able to do that. While getting up, Yeonho says then he guesses they are not meant to be. We see the old man getting red in rage and cursing Yeonho rapidly, which we don't hear apparently. Then the old man tells, 5 years, he asks Yeonho to give him 5 years, and he will do whatever it takes to make Yeonho the strongest in the world in 5 years. Hearing that, Yeonho thinks, the strongest martial artist in the world in 5 years? Plus, Yeonho has never even heard of a spirit that's as vivid as the old man. With a disgusting face, Yeonho thinks maybe the technique just isn't told by word of mouth. Maybe the old man is telling half the truth. If so, the old man might really have been the strongest master in the world. Yeonho decides to become a martial master using this opportunity. Then Yeonho says fine, he will try it. Back to Mad Dog, where he is saying of course why Yeonho didn't know the old man was the Sword Emperor at the time. But the Sword Emperor was quite unfortunate as well, since the person he met at the end of his life just happened to be a lazy sloth. The old man gets angry, calling Yeonho a bastard, tells him to wake up. Yeonho says he is so tired and asks the old man, does he not sleep? But then Yeonho realizes that the old man is dead. But Yeonho is a human, and humans need to sleep. Doesn't the old man know that? Baek Muhan curses the skies, the heavens, the earth, everything, and then tells Yeonho he is sorry and to train. But Yeonho slept all day long and practiced the moves once during training. The always angry poor Sword Emperor says at this rate it will take them 50 years, not 5. Yeonho asks is there no easier way to learn? The old man says it's already easy enough. Yeonho thinks if the old man didn't speak, at the very least the old man would be less annoying. Yeonho tells the old man this is why he needs to meet a talented master. We see Baek Muhan red in anger and at the verge of chi deviation, that is, if he had a body. The Sword Emperor thinks, wanting worldly success, wanting to pass down his martial arts, leaving his spirit like this, forcing him to endure this terrible state. If he had a body, he would beat Yeonho and then teach him. We see Yeonho lying down and rolling. Calling the old man master, Yeonho asks him how did he do that. The old man asks what? Yeonho says dropping that stone gate, and can't the old man use that power to manipulate Yeonho's body to teach him martial arts? The old man says he just pulled the string on a device he had already made in advance. Yeonho asks how, since the old man doesn't have a body. The old man says it's unrelated to the body. He simply used psychic levitation to pull the string with chi alone. Then the old man realizes something interesting. Then he gives out a devilish laugh and thinks, why didn't he realize it earlier? The old man keeps laughing. Yeonho asks what's wrong with the old man and has he finally gone crazy. The old man says he was too fixated on thinking that he didn't have a body, or are there incomplete parts, since he has been maintaining this spirit for 300 years. Anyway, thanks to Yeonho, the old man learned something good. Yeonho asks the old man what is he mumbling about. But then something passes by Yeonho. At first, he doesn't realize what it is. But then he sees a rock on the stone wall. While laughing, the old man says thanks to Yeonho, he realized that even if the old man doesn't have a body, he can still move rocks whenever he wants. Yeonho gets terrified at that and backs off. The old man continues, and if he can move rocks, while levitating some rocks, the man says he can do something like this. Seeing this, Yeonho tells the old man to stop, and he wants to talk. But the old man launches the rocks onto Yeonho. After that day, Baek Muhan and Wi Yeonho's training continued day and night. Yeonho learned swordsmanship without rest during the day, and they debated during the night. Whenever Wi Yeonho slept, he tried using the unparalleled dream mythic arts Baek Muhan taught him. Living became the sword. Life has become the sword. Wi Yeonho had no time to be lazy, and that was how 5 years passed by in a flash. And when Yeonho returned, he shook the world. One day ago, before he got out, while Yeonho is sleeping, the old man calls him. While getting up, Yeonho says he wanted to sleep a bit more. We see Yeonho has a surprised look on his face. We see the old man calm and sitting cross-legged. He tells Yeonho to come here. While sitting, Yeonho asks what's going on. The old man says he has learned martial arts his entire life. His hope was to see the end of it. So he didn't bother with anything but martial arts. At the end of solely chasing martial arts, the old man became a crabby old man who was treated distantly by his clan. Yeonho thinks, what's up with the old man today? It's so unlike him. The old man continues, when he thinks about it, it was obvious why his clan didn't come looking for him. After all, the old man abandoned his children and family for martial arts. He thought seeing the end of martial arts would give him everything. But he was wrong. Martial arts is what humans do. So not walking with people to see the end of swordsmanship is meaningless, and Yeonho helped the old man realize that. The old man says he taught someone for the first time. He was angry and annoyed. He also felt happiness and learned joy from seeing Yeonho grow. And he also learned about fondness. Calling the old man master, Yeonho asks what's going on with him. He is acting as if they will never see each other again. The old man confirms it, saying it's time. Hearing that, Yeonho panics and asks what is the old man talking about, and does he think Yeonho will fall for it? The old man said they should train for 30 years, and it's only been 5. The old man has to exist for 25 more years. The old man says he did say that. But the internal chi that he gave to Yeonho in the form of an elixir was so Yeonho could live without eating in here, and that's not something as easy to maintain as Yeonho would think. The old man says he has no more power left, and it's time to say goodbye. The sad and panicked Yeonho asks the old man why he didn't tell him. If he had, Yeonho would have left, found food, and come back to train. The old man thinks if Yeonho left this place, he doubts Yeonho would come back. The old man says he understands how Yeonho feels. While getting up, the old man says he enjoyed the time they shared. The old man wanted to watch Yeonho travel and sightsee the world, but this is fine too. The old man looks at Yeonho with fondness, and in his eyes, he can clearly see Yeonho crisscrossing through the world. The old man tells Yeonho to go see the world and to keep it within him. If so, other things will naturally follow. He tells Yeonho to also see people before he sees the world. The old man says while looking up, he didn't see what was at his feet. He warns Yeonho not to make the same mistakes that he did. Even if the old man can't see Yeonho again, even if no one else knows about the old man's existence, Yeonho's movements, Yeonho's swordsmanship, the old man is within them. While disappearing, the old man says, so even if Yeonho's not outstanding or great, that's fine too. Calling the old man, master, Yeonho says he can't leave already. There is still so much he hasn't learned. Yeonho asks his master to stay just a bit longer, even if it's just for one day. While disappearing, the Sword Emperor Baek Mohan's last words can be heard, telling Yeonho to be happy. We see Yeonho crying and saying the old man could have said something a bit earlier. Back to the present, where we see a clearly irritated Yeonho saying, so this is why the old man left without telling him in advance. We see Yeonho holding a cloth. Yeonho says when did the old man stack all this, and the old man should have left nicely. Yeonho screams, saying what the hell is this? Before disappearing, Baek Mohan wrote a message on Wi Yeonho's clothes. To summarize, Wi Yeonho's martial arts that he learned as quickly as possible within 5 years was still incomplete. Since Wi Yeonho wouldn't train once Baek Mohan disappeared, Baek Mohan put a sort of feature on Wi Yeonho's body. That being, Baek Mohan's inner elixir that Wi Yeonho had swallowed would cause his martial arts to improve. One might see it as automatically getting stronger, but it's not exactly that. If the martial arts Wi Yeonho is experiencing and obtaining is slower than the speed of the inner elixir, his inner energy would be sucked in by Baek Mohan, and Yeonho would die. To summarize, Yeonho will die if he is being lazy in training. Being irritated, Yeonho says that damned old man was up to no good. The other writing in the cloth was to travel the world and see different things. When Yeonho sees the world, he will feel things, and when he feels things, he will learn things. The old man tells Yeonho to not be satisfied with becoming a small person staying in a small place. Baek Mohan tells Yeonho to see big things and become a big person. So the first place Yeonho must go is Rulin. He is to find the world's greatest scholar and stay with him. Yeonho will definitely feel something. We see Yeonho is saying he was going to go home, but he will go back after resolving everything. Yeonho thinks he has to do what he must. Then he gives his final bows to his master. Then Yeonho leaves for Rulin. In front of the cave, we see Baek Mohan reappearing. He gives out a loud devilish laugh. Calling Yeonho a bastard, he says if Yeonho doesn't learn about the world, he will dry up like a mummy and die. What kind of martial arts exists in the world like that? Baek Mohan can't let Yeonho live in some random place in the middle of nowhere. The world is too broad to let Yeonho do that. With a happy and satisfying face, Baek Mohan says it's a waste of Yeonho's martial arts. The scene shifts to Kaifeng. We are introduced to a new version of Wi Yeonho, as he has starved for days. Now he is like a skeleton. He arrives in front of a beggar. We are introduced to the beggar sect's branch leader, Jang Il. Looking at Yeonho, Jang Il thinks, who is this mummy? Yeonho says he came because he had something to ask. Jang Il questions, saying, money. Yeonho asks, does he need to pay? The beggar says of course, nothing in this world is free. Looking at Yeonho, Jang Il thinks his voice sounds like he's barely 20, but his face looks to be 50. Anyway, Jang Il has never seen such a beggar among all the beggars he has seen. Jang Il says he wants to do it for free since they are in the same field, but it's the rule here. Yeonho asks, same field? Jang Il says yes, since they are both beggars. Yeonho asks how does he look like a beggar? Jang Il says he is obviously a beggar. Anyway, if Yeonho has no money, Jang Il can't give him info or anything. He asks Yeonho to leave and to come back with some money after doing some begging. Yeonho says why would he beg when he is not a beggar? With a stiff face, Jang Il says it's not that beggars beg, it's that once one begs, one is a beggar. Yeonho looks like he could make money by just putting a basket in front of where he sits. So why is he wasting his talents? Jang Il suddenly asks Yeonho, does he want to work with Jang Il? We see a lot of money in front of Yeonho. Jang Il gets happy and says to earn half a year of operating costs for this branch in half a day, he says the god of wealth has come. Jang Il asks Yeonho what he wants to know. Yeonho says a list of locations, hobbies, and specialties of famous scholars, and a list of locations, hobbies, and specialties of famous blacksmiths. Jang Il tells Yeonho he did promise him, so Jang Il will tell him, and he asks Yeonho to come back after 7 days. Yeonho lies down, saying he has nowhere to go and has nothing to do, so he will just stay here. Jang Il says fine. After a few days, Jang Il comes to regret those words. One of the beggars comes running to Jang Il, saying there's trouble. Jang Il asks what's the fuss about. What trouble could there be for some beggars? The beggar says he thinks they are going to starve to death. The beggar brings Jang Il to the location. Jang Il gets surprised at what he sees. One of the passers-by, calling the beggars bastards, says if they want to be beggars, they would have to at least be on that level. And we see Mummy Wi Yeonho getting a lot of coins just by sitting on the road. Jang Il gets terrified and surprised. Money keeps pouring onto Yeonho. Wi Yeonho gives out a laugh and says making money is easy. Wi Yeonho starts taking over the beggar world. We see Yeonho saying he is thirsty. While lying down, he tells Jang Il to bring him water. When they bring Yeonho water, Yeonho says the bowl is dirty. Jang Il beats the beggar that brought the water and tells him to bring water over in a new bowl. Yeonho says it's also lukewarm. While kicking the beggars, Jang Il tells them to bring cold water from the damn mountains. While lying face down, Yeonho says, nice, how nice, and Jang Il gets fired up in rage. Jang Il thinks he is a branch leader of the beggar sect, having to act as a servant for that stupid beggar. But if Jang Il kicks Yeonho out, his guys will strive. Jang Il thinks, when's the damn information that Yeonho requested gonna get here? They are all gonna end up dead at this rate. One of the beggars comes running happily, saying the information is here. Hearing that, Jang Il also gets happy. Yeonho sees the information. Yeonho asks Jang Il, is that all? Does Jang Il really want to sell something like this for money? Jang Il asks Yeonho what does he mean. Jang Il takes the paper from Yeonho's hands. He sees the information and thinks, are those bastards actually trying to kill them all? This information is only like half of what Yeonho requested. Jang Il thinks this is bad and he needs to do something. Yeonho asks Jang Il if the information is not complete because Yeonho didn't pay them enough. Jang Il takes Yeonho somewhere else to get the information. We see a womanly figure standing. Calling Jang Il fox dog, she says how rare it is to see Jang Il here. We are introduced to the Hua Sect's Kaifeng's branch leader, Gui Nangnang. Jang Il greets the branch leader. While laughing, Yeonho says, is Jang Il's title a dog? Is he a little bitch? Jang Il says he needs information while Yeonho keeps calling him bitch. Branch leader Gui says this is surprising. The beggar sect's branch leader of Kaifeng is coming to the Hua Sect for information. She is sure that Jang Il is aware that they are rivals. She asks Jang Il what brings him to the Hua Sect. Jang Il says he is not asking for the beggar sect and he has brought a customer here. We see Yeonho still laughing and calling Jang Il a bitch. Branch leader Gui asks Jang Il, is he kidding her right now? She says it's not the beggar sect asking, but the client is a beggar. She asks Jang Il, is he insulting them or is this a provocation of sorts? Branch leader Gui says they do not have information to sell to the beggar sect. Hearing that, Yeonho says he is not from the beggar sect. While turning back, branch leader Gui says she will have no choice but to take action if they keep insulting them in this manner. Yeonho should be aware that they have pride. Yeonho asks, isn't the Hua Sect an intelligence organization? But she doesn't even know if Yeonho is from the beggar sect or not. She is living off selling information when she doesn't even know that. Yeonho tells branch leader Goe that she doesn't even have the basics down. Hearing that, she gets angry and calls one of her guards, Gongmu. When Gongmu replies, she asks, who is Yeonho? Gongmu says they don't know about Yeonho, but he is not from the beggar sect. Hearing that, branch leader Goe gets irritated. Then Yeonho says, see? Now she can sell Yeonho information, right? Clearly being irritated, branch leader Goe says no, and she doesn't want to. She tells them to get out. Hearing that, Yeonho laughs and says she doesn't have a business mindset. Yeonho is offering to pay her, yet she still refuses. Yeonho guesses it's not long until the Hua Sect is done for. Branch leader Goe warns Yeonho he had better watch his mouth unless he wants to see his limbs cut off. Yeonho says he is not wrong, is he? Yeonho calls the branch leader an old lady. We see the old lady's face. Sorry guys, forgive me. I can't explain what she is feeling. Branch leader Goe asks Yeonho if he is insulting her. Then she tells Gongmu to teach Yeonho a lesson. We see a masked man going towards Yeonho to strike him. When Gongmu's hand is about to reach Yeonho, he pushes Jang Ael to the side and punches Gongmu. We see Gongmu head down on the floor unconscious. The branch leader gets really surprised. The same goes for Jang Ael. Branch leader Goe says out loud that Yeonho is a martial master. Yeonho apologizes and says it's just his instinct to counterattack if someone tries to hit him. He would have gone much easier if Gongmu told him he was gonna attack. Jang Ael thinks he thought that Yeonho probably learned martial arts, but Jang Ael didn't expect Yeonho to be this strong. Jang Ael comes to the conclusion that Yeonho is basically a monster. While scratching the back of his head, Yeonho says this is all that old man's fault. Branch leader Goe stutters for a moment and says she didn't know Yeonho was such a prestigious customer. She says, in any case, it doesn't seem like they are here with good intentions. Jang Ael says she probably won't believe him, but he really is not here to fight. There was just information that the beggar sect could not obtain, so he came here to ask for her help. Branch leader Goe asks, is that why Jang Ael brought Yeonho here? Jang replies positively. Branch leader Goe says that Jang Ael knows this is akin to bringing a tiger over to a rabbit's den and asking for just some fur, right? Jang Ael says he knows it's hard to believe, but he is serious. Branch leader Goe says alright, she believes him. Jang Ael thanks her. Branch leader Goe says, but giving Jang Ael information is a separate matter. It's true that Jang Ael's client hurt her person. She asks for compensation. She continues, saying there's a simple rule in the unorthodox world, blood for blood, a life for a life. Branch leader Goe calls her guards, the Four Shadows. We see some scary-looking guys posing. Seeing them, Yeonho says everyone has a fancy way of making an appearance in this place. Branch leader Goe says she doesn't know what Yeonho's purpose in being here is, but since he has hurt one of them, Yeonho will not be able to leave unharmed. Yeonho says, is it that hard to understand? He told her it was a mistake. Yeonho just hit him lightly because he tried to hit Yeonho first. With an angry face, branch leader Goe curses Yeonho. She says the unorthodox Murim's ways are simple, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Yeonho mocks her, saying that sounds like some loan shark bullshit. Branch leader Goe says they are going to just take a bit of flesh from Yeonho's face and be done with it. Yeonho says sorry to break it to her, he doesn't really have any fat on his face, he hasn't been able to eat properly recently. Branch leader Goe gets relatively angry and orders the Four Shadows to kill Yeonho. While the Four Shadows launch attacks on Yeonho, while scratching the back of his head, Yeonho says he thought they were gonna just carve a bit of flesh from Yeonho's face, and now they want to kill him. That's a whole lot of interest. He mockingly says it's scary. In a moment, Yeonho wrecks them. Again, I can't explain her facial expression. Sorry. While the four shadows are still in the air, Yeonho says, nobody move. While exuding chi, Yeonho says he doesn't want to kill yet. Seeing that, Jang Il gets speechless. Branch leader Gue thinks Yeonho's aura is that of a martial master. Yeonho says his master told him that if someone is willing to attack once, they will be willing to attack 3 or even 4 times. So Yeonho should never let that happen. Yeonho says he doesn't like the old man, but he has never said anything wrong. Being terrified, branch leader Gue thinks she messed with the wrong person and he is not someone she can handle. She needs to get it together, and if she does anything wrong, this entire branch of the house sect might just meet its downfall. Branch leader Gue quickly composes herself and asks Yeonho what he wants. Yeonho says information, and the branch leader asks what kind of information. Jang Il says he has the papers and he hopes that she can fill out the empty spots. Looking at the paper, the branch leader thinks Jang Il brought a monster like Yeonho to the house sect because they couldn't solve such a simple matter. Branch leader Gue says it's nothing difficult and she just needs some time. She asks Yeonho, can he wait? Yeonho replies positively. Branch leader Gue asks for 15 minutes. With an angry face, she calls Jang Il to come with her. After some time, Jang Il comes back, and Yeonho starts laughing at him, saying his face is like a dumpling. Yeonho asks Jang Il if branch leader Gue beat him up. Yeonho continues, saying he guesses the beggar sect is nothing, seeing as they are getting beaten up by the house sect. Jang Il asks, does that woman look like a mere regular member of the house sect? Jang Il says she is the daughter of the house sect leader and she is the future leader of the house sect. She ate miracle medicines like meals and had all kinds of good things, and how could Jang Il be a match for her? Then branch leader Gue appears behind Jang Il. She says she brought the information and Yeonho thanks her. She continues, saying however, they do have their own rules. Jang Il says, information fees. Yeonho asks how much. She says 5 niang. Handing out 5 bronze niang, Yeonho says that's cheap here. But Jang Il corrects Yeonho, saying silver niang. Then Yeonho asks why is it so expensive. Branch leader Gue says it was actually pretty high security information and that's why it's pricey. Then Yeonho gets up and starts leaving. Jang asks where is he going. Yeonho says he has to go earn his silver niang. Hearing that, Jang Il lies on the ground and pulls Yeonho's leg, saying he brought Yeonho here for a reason. Yeonho asks what's that supposed to mean. Clearly unwilling, Jang Il tells Yeonho to wait a second. Jang Il used up all the money Wi Yeonho had earned, along with Jang Il's hidden stash, to cough up the 5 silver niang that Yeonho didn't have. He borrowed with an IOU. Handing out the silver, Jang Il thinks his heart aches. Calling Yeonho an evil bastard, Jang Il says he had to use up all his savings. Looking at the information, Yeonho says this is definitely thorough. It's in a whole other league compared to the information that the beggars bring in. Yeonho guesses the house sect guys are on a different level. Holding a piece of paper, Yeonho says he also wants to send a letter to Guangdong and asks if it's gonna be expensive. Branch leader Gue says it's gonna be more expensive than an escort agency, but she will do it in exchange for Yeonho answering some of her questions. She asks Yeonho his name and his age. Yeonho replies, saying his name is Wi Yeonho and he is 17 years old. Jang Il gets surprised knowing Yeonho is younger than him. Hearing Yeonho is only 17 years old, branch leader Gue thinks his martial prowess is not that of a 17-year-old. Then she remembers his name, Wi Yeonho. She realizes something and asks if Yeonho is the second son of Guangdong's Wi clan. Yeonho asks if she knows him. Branch leader Gue says of course. The Guangdong's Wi clan requested them to find Yeonho. Jang Il asks Yeonho if he is Sanho's younger brother. Yeonho asks Jang Il how he knows Yeonho's older brother. Jang Il says Sanho is his friend. Branch leader Goe asks Yeonho if he is sending the letter to the Guangdong's Y clan. It will take at least 10 days to arrive. Yeonho says it's alright, saying they waited 5 years and 10 more days won't hurt. Branch leader Goe hands out a red cloth, saying it marks one as a special guest of the house sect. If Yeonho ties it where he wants, an informant of the house sect will come find him. She thinks someone who is skilled enough to take down the 4 swords at the age of 17, there's no one like that in the Central Plains. Creating a connection like this with him should do them good. Yeonho says it's useless to him. Branch leader Goe says in that case, she will give information for free next time. She says it's specially for Yeonho. They don't want to lose Yeonho as a customer because of what happened earlier. Yeonho laughingly says nothing really happened, right? Jang Al says his face is like a dumpling and he has been rendered completely broke. The branch leader says it often happens when you are a loser. The scene shifts to outside where Jang Al can be seen depressed about losing his money. Yeonho, with a straight face, says money comes and goes. Besides, a beggar shouldn't be greedy like that. He tells Jang Al to tap into his beggar roots. Jang Al gets frustrated, thinking he can't even beat this guy up. Jang Al says anyway Yeonho got the information he wanted, so they won't have to see each other anymore. Pulling Jang Al, Yeonho says there's a problem. Jang Al asks what is it. With a happy face, Yeonho says he doesn't have any money. Jang Al wanted to beat him up, but he couldn't. The scene shifts to the house sect's branch, where we see branch leader Goe in deep thought. She calls Gongmu and tells him to send a letter to the main sect and to tell them the second son of the Guangdong's Y clan who went missing has come back as a martial master. Yeonho arrives at the Great Hanlim Institute. We are introduced to Songlim, the Great Hanlim Institute. We see a scholarly man sitting beside the lake drinking his tea. We are introduced to the third grand scholar, Mun Yuhwan. His daughter comes, saying there is a guest for him. We are introduced to Mun Yuhwan's daughter, Mun Yunich. Mun Yuhwan says he doesn't have anything on the schedule today. His daughter says they said they wanted to play a game of Go with him. Hearing of Go, Yuhwan gets all cheered up. Yunich brings Yeonho. Yeonho says he hopes he is not intruding. Yuhwan says of course not, and it is an indulgence to have guests over. He heard Yeonho wanted to play Go with him. Yeonho says that's the only kind of thing he knows how to play. Mun Yuhwan says let's give it a go then. He says he will play white and tells Yeonho to go first. Saying Yeonho will begin, he clumsily pulls out the pieces. Seeing that, Mun Yuhwan thinks he shouldn't expect much from Yeonho. He looks like he is here to get a free meal, so Yuhwan will just help him out after a game. Then Yeonho makes his first move. Seeing that, Yuhwan gets surprised and thinks looks like Yeonho is not a beggar, and they start playing. Mun Yuhwan thinks Yeonho is fast with his moves, and it's rare to see someone his age so experienced. They play a couple more rounds. We see Mun Yuhwan's face start to get gloomy. He couldn't make his move. He thinks, what the hell, Yeonho is not just being fast. With a sly smile, Yeonho asks Yuhwan, isn't he gonna go? Stay tuned for more and of course, do subscribe. Mun Yuhwan thinks Wi Yeonho is amazing. His playstyle is like that of angry ocean waves. He is like a person crazed for battles, attacking boldly even when a fight is not necessary. If he sees even a slight opening, he charges like a starving demon and chomps down. He is a war demon. Mun Yuhwan tells Yeonho that was a good game and he has quite a unique playstyle. Yeonho thanks him and says it's all because of all the bullying he endured from his master. Yuhwan questions Yeonho, did he really have a master? Yeonho thinks back to the past of his master's tormenting and replies, saying yes, a very strict old man. Yeonho tells Mun Yuhwan if it's not too much to ask, he would love to stay over a bit. His master told him to stay in Rulin for a while. Hearing Yeonho is following his master's teaching, Mun Yuhwan says of course he will help. He will prepare a room for Yeonho and he can stay as long as he likes. Yuhwan tells his daughter, Mun Yunji, to prepare a room and clothes for Yeonho and to guide him to the bath too. Mun Yunji reluctantly says she understands. But Yeonho says he doesn't have any money. Hearing that, Mun Yuhwan laughs and says he wouldn't expect payment from a guest like him. He was actually going to ask Yeonho to stay here if he had not asked. In return, Yuhwan requests Yeonho to play Go against him or a guest sometimes. Yeonho says he can do that. After Yeonho and Yuhwan greet each other, Yeonho leaves with Mun Yunji. While bathing, Yeonho thinks this is very nice. He hated baths when he was younger. Yeonho was almost gonna cry from how nice this is. Remembering his master, Yeonho thinks this is all that damned old man's fault. We see Mun Yunji waiting outside the bath with clothes for Yeonho. While pouting, she thinks she doesn't get it at all. Why did her father accept someone like Yeonho as a guest? Then Yeonho comes out of the bath naked, which startled Yunji. Yunji then screams. Telling Yeonho to cover up, Yunji says she thought Yeonho was a ghost. Seeing Yeonho, Yunji blushed. Then Yeonho covers himself up with a cloth. With a cheeky tone, Yeonho asks, "Is that good enough?" Seeing Yeonho all cleaned up, in a dramatic way Yunji asks, "Who is he?" The scene shifts to a few days later. Mun Yunji tells her father to say something to that person. Her father asks who. Yunji says the new guy. She says Yeonho doesn't leave his room at all. He sleeps all day, if he is not eating. That's what he has been doing all week. Mun Yuhwan stays silent for a moment, then says he forgot to ask Yeonho his name. While irritated, Mun Yunji says he said that being slothful is a sin. He said one should always keep himself busy. So why isn't he saying anything about Yeonho being lazy? Yeonho might be a guest, but he is ruining the atmosphere. Ignoring Yunji, Mun Yuhwan says he likes Go. One can learn a lot about one's opponent when playing. One can hide one's facial expressions and watch one's words, but one cannot hide oneself when playing Go. A person who is impatient cannot play patiently, and those who are the opposite cannot learn to enjoy battle. One can tell how someone has lived their life, along with their personality, when one plays Go against them. Yeonho's playing style was rushed and rough. Yuhwan has never seen a play style like that. Mun Yuhwan says Yeonho is definitely not a lazy person. Yuhwan assumes Yeonho has lived a very rough life. If the sun shines down brightly, the shadows it casts will be just as dark. If Yeonho is being lazy, Yuhwan is sure that just means his life until now has been very hard. One should not chase away a bird that has come under the roof to avoid the rain. One should not question the bird about why it is not flying through the rain. Mun Yuhwan tells Yunji to let Yeonho rest. Unable to say anything, Yunji says she understands. Looking at Yeonho sleeping lazily, the room is very disorderly. Yunji boils in anger. She thinks her father's been deceived. There's no way this lazy ass is like her father described. Yunji decides she is going to kick Yeonho out of this place. In anger, Yunji tells Yeonho to get up. While half asleep, Yeonho asks why should he get up. Pulling the blanket, Yunji screams and tells Yeonho to get up. The sun is already up. Yeonho then says to let him know when the sun sets. Unable to keep her anger inside, Yunji asks what the hell is wrong with Yeonho. Everyone studies here, and why is he doing nothing other than sleeping for a whole week? With a smug look, Yeonho says those people are studying because they want to study. Yeonho is sleeping because he wants to sleep, so what's the problem? Yunji tells Yeonho to shut up. She can't just stand watching him roll around here without even taking a bath. And who does Yeonho think washes his bed sheets? Yeonho at least needs to do something to pay for the food he eats. Yunji guesses he wouldn't know, but they are not that well off. They can feed people who study, but they don't have enough to feed someone who just lazes around. Yeonho says but her father said he can stay as long as he likes. Mun Yunji says she is the one who is in charge of money, so her father doesn't know. Yunji gives Yeonho an intense look. Giving out a sigh, Yeonho asks, then what should he do? Yoonji tells Yeonho to do the laundry. Looking at the pile of laundry, Yeonho asks does he have to do all this, and will this cover his food? Saying it's not that much, Yoonji replies positively. While sneakily laughing, Yoonji tells Yeonho good luck and to make sure all the clothes are clean. She is going to make him rewash what's not clean, so he needs to do a thorough job. Yoonji thinks Yeonho deserves this. He won't be able to finish all that by today. The scene shifts to 2 hours later. We see a very surprised Yoonji. She sees all of the laundry is super clean and shining. She wonders how did Yeonho do this. Looking at the clothes, she thinks were they always this white? She again wonders how the hell did he do this. We see Yeonho is sleeping on the side. Frustrated, Yoonji thinks she can't let Yeonho laze around again. She decides she will get him. Then she brings Yeonho to the log area. She tells him to chop all this. She gives Yeonho a week to do this and asks, he will be able to do it, right? With an evil laugh, Yoonji thinks Yeonho will run away after a day. After some time, Yoonji comes back and sees all the logs are done and Yeonho is sleeping on top of the logs. She again gets a surprise and thinks that should have taken 10 people 10 days to do. Then she gives Yeonho dishwashing job. But the same thing happens this time too, and we see Yeonho sleeping again. We see a dumbstruck Yoonji. Then comes gardening, which also shines, and we see the same scene of Yeonho sleeping. A very frustrated and angry Yoonji thinks how is Yeonho so capable. Back to Mad Dog's perspective. He says thus why Yeonho's ruling life began. But it was a mistake to take him in. Manhwa never should have let Yeonho into his home. The young scholar asks why. The Mad Dog says it's because that guy brings disaster wherever he goes. It may not be intended, but wherever he goes, trouble follows. It was the same in Rulin. A scholar hall that had been so quiet and peaceful was swept over with chaos once Wi Yeonho showed up. The scholar asks what happened. The Mad Dog says it all began when the game called Go started. We see a very irritated Yeonho thinking how did he get into this situation. He thought it was gonna be an occasional visit. We see a big crowd waiting outside to play Go against Wi Yeonho. Yeonho thinks bringing people here to play with him is cheating. Manhwa writes a letter saying, a stone that stays stagnant rots. A laid table waits for its owner. If the time is right, please, visit. For a game of Go. A master of Go appeared in the Great Hanlim Institute. He then sends the letter to various scholars across Murim. We see an irritated Yeonho rapidly playing Go. We see a lot of scholars standing in line to play Go with Wi Yeonho. Yeonho defeats one of the scholars, being indifferent, then tells the next one to come. Yeonho is playing Go with a scholar. We see the scholar is in distress and thinking very hard. Seeing Yeonho's move, the scholar thinks, what kind of move is that? It's basically suicide. He wonders, is it perhaps a mistake? But then he thinks there's no way it can be a mistake. It could be a mistake maybe if Yeonho was a regular man. But the scholar's opponent is the undefeated genius of Hanlim. While nervous, he thinks Yeonho must have some plan in mind. It's got to be a trap. He must avoid it. He is sure Yeonho was plotting something. It's good that he avoided it. We see Yeonho is shaking. Yeonho looks at the scholar. We see a very irritated and angry Yeonho, but in his mind, he thinks, why? Why did the scholar back off there? Just why? Yeonho did that so he can lose. He will be playing Go forever if he doesn't lose. In his mind, Yeonho tells the scholar to fall for the move. Yeonho will lose in 10 moves, so take that bait. But the scholar respectfully acknowledges his loss. While crying, Yeonho also greets back the scholar. Nearly exhausted, Yeonho starts walking towards his room. He kept making suicidal moves so that he could lose, but that must have been scaring his opponents instead. While scratching his head, Yeonho thinks at this rate he is gonna have more people coming to play. He would rather do the laundry. Yeonho aches in back pain. Then Yeonho suddenly hears someone's voice. He peeks to see who it is. We are introduced to a very disgusting-looking Nok Mokpung. He is asking Yoonji if she really doesn't want to marry him. Yoonji says no, absolutely not. Nok Mokpung says she is gonna regret it. In anger, Yoonji says she won't. Nok Mokpung tells Yoonji she better think it through again. He has always gotten what he wanted. He will never let go of something he wants. He is just offering right now, but if she keeps refusing him, it won't be an offer next time. Is she sure it's alright for the Great Hanlim Institute to fall just because of her? Hearing this, Mun Yoonji gets very angry and tells Nok Mokpung to do as he wishes. The Great Hanlim Institute won't fall this easily. Nok Mokpung says but he can make this happen, and he is sure Yoonji is aware of it too. Yoonji grits her teeth in anger. Yoonji screams at Mokpung, saying she hates that about him. Does he think everything will just work out in his favor? Nok Mokpung says it's not impossible. Yoonji says she is never going to marry him. It's impossible. Then Yoonji starts leaving, but Nok Mokpung grabs Yoonji's hand very tightly with his disgusting hand. Yoonji screams and says to let her go. Mokpung says it's in her best interest to not anger him. With a disgusting gesture, Nok Mokpung tells Yoonji, does she think she can still act so bold, even if he tries to take her right here right now? Hearing this, Yoonji gets very scared. From behind, Yeonho tells Mokpung that's not something he should be saying in someone else's house. Hearing Yeonho's voice, Yoonji gets surprised. Yoonji then removes herself from Nok Mokpung's grasp and runs towards Yeonho, asking has he already finished doing the laundry and firewood. Yeonho says he has been playing Go until now, and what is she talking about? Yeonho then sees the scratch marks on Yoonji's hand. Then Yeonho takes one of Yoonji's hair bands, telling her he will borrow this. He then ties his hair. Nok Mokpung tells Yeonho, doesn't he think it's rude to listen in on others' conversations? Saying sorry, Yeonho says he really doesn't know his manners. He goes in front of Nok Mokpung and says that being said, Yeonho doesn't think Mokpung should be the one to talk about manners. Do people who care about manners usually act like he does? With a disgusting face, Mokpung tells Yeonho he must be the genius of Hanlim. Mockingly, Yeonho thanks him for recognizing him, but Yeonho has no idea who he is. When Nok Mokpung tries to introduce himself, Yeonho ignores him and says it's alright, he doesn't really care. Mokpung gets very angry and says the genius of Hanlim should just play Go instead of getting in his way. Yeonho says what a shame. He is really good at getting in people's way, just like right now. Gritting his teeth in anger, Nok Mokpung curses Yeonho. But before he could say anything else, some scholars appear and ask who is that. One of the scholars requests Yeonho to play with him tomorrow. Seeing the changed situation, Nok Mokpung leaves. Before he leaves, he reminds Yoonji not to forget, if she doesn't come running into his arms in 3 days, he is going to do things his way. We see the disgusting fat pig leaving. Yeonho asks Yoonji who was that. Yoonji says he is a man called Nok Mokpung. He is the adopted son of the imperial palace attendant who wields a lot of power. Yeonho asks what was Mokpung telling her. Yoonji says Mokpung wants to marry her. Yoonji refused him every single time, but it's very annoying. Yeonho says but isn't he alright? He is from a good family and he is determined. Hearing this, Yoonji gets very angry and says Mokpung is not trying to marry her because he likes her. He just wants to use her. Yeonho might not know, but her father has really a good network in Rulin. People say that he is a perfect candidate to be a politician too. The reason he lives this life despite all that isn't just because he has no interest in civil service. Then Yeonho cuts her off and with a silly gesture says, it must be because of Go, right? Yoonji says no. It's because the eunuchs of the imperial palace are very wary of her father. Yeonho says why would the eunuchs do that? Isn't her father just an owner of this institute? Yunji says it's not just some institute. The Great Hanlim Institute is different from the others. They are not affiliated with any other organization, so getting to this point was difficult. But thanks to that, they have been able to form many deep connections with other organizations. The reason the eunuchs are in power despite being corrupt and useless is because the forces of Rulin have not unified to drive them out. However, if her father were able to control the forces of Rulin, the eunuchs would be in danger. That's why Nok Mokpung's father is desperate to stop her father from taking on civil service. Recently, Mokpung's father has found a new way, a way to not have to fear Rulin uniting while also gaining a close connection to a powerful figure in Rulin. It's the marriage between Nok Mokpung and her. We see Nok Mokpung kneeling and telling his father he is sorry. An individual called the Genius of Hanlim appeared, so it might be hard to continue the plan. We are introduced to the head of the eunuchs, Nok Gi. Nok Gi asks, the Genius of Hanlim, isn't he a useless good-for-nothing who just plays Go all day? Mokpung says the Genius of Hanlim is not the problem. Rather, there are people from all over the nation coming to play Go against him. There were too many eyes watching. His actions were limited because of that. It might be bad if he were to try to do something amidst all that. We see Nok Mokpung sweating in fear while reporting to his adoptive father. Nok Gi says he understands why Mokpung is hesitant. Mokpung apologizes to his father. Nok Gi says however, does Mokpung think that this mission is just for his sake? Mokpung doesn't know what to say. Nok Gi says taking over the imperial palace is a mission given by the one and only. Failing this mission is not an option, for Mokpung and him both. Nok Gi is more afraid to disappoint him than he is of death. Nok Gi asks Mokpung does he understand. While scared and sweating, Nok Mokpung replies saying yes, he is well aware. Nok Gi says sometimes violence is necessary. With a creepy smile, Nok Gi tells Mokpung to use the crowd to his advantage and kill them all, including the Genius of Hanlim.